Night of the Living Dead is a 1968 American horror film, directed by George A. Romero, and is widely considered as one of the most influential horror movies of all time. Our story starts with siblings Johnny and Barbara, as they travel to their father's grave in Pennsylvania. Johnny is a bit miffed about the fact it's a 4-hour round trip, but knows that if he doesn't pay his respects every once in a while, his mum will probably kick his head in. Begrudgingly, he lays flowers at his father's resting place, then takes great pleasure in poking fun at his sister, who still gets creeped out in cemeteries. Meanwhile, we see a man wandering the graveyard by himself, and he looks like he's just stumbled out the pub. Johnny continues to mock Barbara, and as she tries to walk past the hooched-up hobo, he launches himself at her. Johnny wrestles with the drifter, as his sister watches from a safe distance, but is thrown to the ground, and twats his noggin on a tombstone. With Johnny knocked senseless, the hot-tempered bellend turns his attentions back to Barbara, and dawdles after her until she finds refuge in a seemingly empty house. She locks the doors, arms herself with a knife, and prays that she is safe from the persistent prick, who lurks outside. Upon searching the rooms, she discovers the mutilated body of the homeowner at the top of the stairs, and freaks out. She decides to flee, but instead meets a tall African-American man called Ben, who takes her back into the house, and sets about boarding up the windows. By this point, a slew of slow-moving goons have assembled outside around Ben's truck, and when he goes outside to bash their brains in, one of the bloodthirsty assholes wanders into the house, and tries to take a chunk out of Barbara. Ben arrives just in time, and in a brutal encounter, he smashes the bloke's head in with a tire iron. Barbara is so shell-shocked about the day's events, she becomes catatonic, and Ben continues to batten down the hatches. A radio announcement confirms that the dead are coming back to life, and if that wasn't strange enough, they are also eating the flesh of anyone they can get their hands on. Then Ben realizes that he and Barbara are not alone in the house. Two men emerge from the cellar, and are just as scared and clueless as everyone else is. The man, called Cooper, explains that his wife and daughter are downstairs, but his daughter Karen is very sick, after she was bitten on the arm by one of the homicidal ghouls. The younger man Tom, is also accompanied by his girlfriend. Together, under the guidance of Ben, they rally their efforts, and hope to survive the Night of the Living Dead. So there we have it. A gaggle of guarding guys and gals, trying to barricade themselves from the relentless foes that hunger for their delicious guts. A myriad of mindless undead flesh eaters, who can absorb gunshots like nobody's business. And a sick little girl, who desperately needs medical attention. Will the cooped-up survivors learn to play happy families, and figure out the real enemy is outside the house, not in it? Will they hatch a plan to save Karen, before she succumbs to a similar fate as the hordes that scratch at the windows upstairs? And will somebody please get this lass a towel? She'll catch her death out there. Oh wait, too late. Night of the Living Dead is George A. Romero's debut movie, and despite its low budget, is a tour de force in the world of horror. It was a huge box office success, earning more than 250 times its budget, which made it one of the most profitable films ever made at the time. The actors were all relatively unknown, but their performances were incredibly effective, and did a great job at portraying the frantic paranoia that you would likely experience during a zombie apocalypse. The movie's gore and explicit violence was considered groundbreaking for the time, and was apparently unrated when it hit the cinemas, which left children scarred for life, especially the scenes of disembowelment. Now let's talk about that heartbreaking ending, and apologies for the spoilers. I hadn't seen Night of the Living Dead for many years, but in my mind, the movie ended with Ben protecting the people in the house, before being shot in an obviously racist attack. But now I've seen it again, I realize my memory was completely unreliable. Ben sends Tom and his girlfriend on a suicide mission, which results in the truck exploding, and we see as the living dead feast on their charred remains. He doesn't protect Barbara when her brother Johnny, now a reanimated murderous corpse, is reunited with her, and pulls her to her death. And he kills the Coopers, albeit 2 of them are already zombified, so he had no choice. As heroes go, he really was looking out for himself, it seems. As for the final shooting, the police are killing off anyone that moves, so Ben's skin color was irrelevant, but it's still a very poignant scene, and one that still stays with me. When asked, Romero stated he wasn't trying to shine a light on the racial tensions in late 60s America by casting Dwayne Jones as the protagonist. He just liked Jones's acting style. Simple as that. I appreciate that you can interpret the ending in different ways, but it's still gut-wrenching to see our hero die in the last scenes of the movie. Night of the Living Dead is definitely worth watching, and to me, is a timeless classic that always hits home. The whole horror genre is stronger because of its existence, and it never fails to entertain, shock, and ask questions about who the real villains are in our world. Thanks for watching another horror movie review. Leave me a comment below if you have any suggestions of movies I should review next, and why not drop me a like, or subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of my crackpot critiques. I've been HB, the Horror Bot. Cheers babes.